Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learning Room Pro. Today, we bring you an inspiring, deeply detailed story about patience, dedication, and determination. If you have ever felt discouraged or felt like giving up because your goals seemed far away, this long motivational story is created specially for you. Sit back, relax, listen carefully to the soft English pronunciation, and let this story remind you that true power always lies within your own hands. Deep in a quiet valley surrounded by rolling blue mountains and dense green pine forests, there was a charming town called Greenvale. Life there moved at a gentle, peaceful pace. The people of Greenvale were simple and hardworking. They spent their days farming, building wooden houses, and gathering in the central market square to talk and share news. In this town lived a young boy named Zayn. Zayn was thoughtful, polite, and full of big dreams that extended far beyond the quiet boundaries of his small village. While other children spent their afternoons playing sports or running through the open fields, Zayn had a completely different passion. He was deeply drawn to the world of art. From a very early age, Zayn was fascinated by colors, shapes, and the natural beauty around him. Whenever he saw a golden sunset, he longed to capture it on paper. He admired the deep blue hue of the morning sky, the soft texture of river rocks, and the bright colors of wild flowers growing along the dusty pathways. Zayn dreamed of painting breathtaking landscapes that would touch people's hearts, bring peace to their minds, and inspire them during difficult times in their lives. However, despite his intense love for art, he faced a severe and frustrating struggle every single day. His body simply would not cooperate with his creative mind. Every time Zayn picked up a paintbrush, a dark charcoal, or a simple pencil, his hands would shake uncontrollably with nervousness and anxiety. His lines were never straight or smooth, his circles were uneven, and the colors on his canvas often mixed into muddy, messy, and dark smudges. No matter how clearly he envisioned a masterpiece in his head, his trembling fingers failed to translate that inner beauty onto the white canvas in front of him. Zayn did not give up easily at first. He spent long, lonely hours in his small bedroom, filling endless sketchbooks with drawings of tall trees, rustic houses, and flowing rivers. He practiced late into the night under the warm glow of a small oil lamp, trying to control his hand movements and master the basic techniques of shading. Unfortunately, despite all his effort and late nights, his progress remained painfully slow. He felt stuck while watching other local artists create beautiful art effortlessly. One sunny afternoon, the town organized a small spring festival where local artists displayed their work to the public in the bustling market square. Eager to receive advice, constructive criticism, and guidance, Zayn nervously carried 3 of his best paintings to the market. He hoped for a few words of hope. When the local art teacher and the townspeople gathered to look at Zayn's work, they did not see potential or passion. Instead, they saw messy papers and awkward shapes. Some people chuckled quietly behind their hands, making fun of his attempts. Others simply shook their heads in silent disappointment and walked away without saying a word. The local art teacher, a stern man who was widely respected in the valley, walked up to Zayn with a cold and unforgiving look in his eyes. He placed a heavy hand on the young boy's shoulder and told him bluntly that art requires natural, born talent and that some people are simply not built for it. He advised Zayn to stop wasting his valuable time and energy, suggesting he give up painting forever and focus on learning a simple, practical trade instead. Those harsh words hit Zayn like a crushing weight upon his chest. His heart sank instantly. His face turned bright red, and bitter tears welled up in his eyes. Feeling deeply humiliated and broken, Zayn gathered his ruined papers, ran all the way home through the dusty streets, and hid his brushes in a box under his bed. For 2 full weeks, Zayn did not touch a single pencil or paintbrush. The pain of public embarrassment and the deep fear of failure made him feel completely hopeless. He began to believe that the cold art teacher was right all along. He convinced himself that he was destined to fail because he lacked innate, natural talent. One warm afternoon, unable to bear the heavy, painful silence of his bedroom any longer, Zayn walked toward the thick woods located at the edge of the town. He sat down near a small, crystal-clear stream that flowed smoothly over polished gray stones. The soothing sound of rushing water usually brought him comfort and peace. As he sat there staring blankly at the damp ground, a tiny movement near his leather boots caught his attention. It was a small black ant moving through the grass. The ant was trying to carry a large, heavy grain of white rice up a steep, smooth rock. The grain was 3 times bigger and much heavier than the ant itself. Zayn watched closely, deeply fascinated by the tiny life-and-death struggle unfolding before him. The ant pushed the heavy grain forward with all its tiny strength. However, as soon as it reached halfway up the rock, its tiny feet slipped on the slippery surface and it tumbled all the way back down into the dirt. Without hesitating for even a single second, the ant turned around, picked up the heavy grain again, and began climbing the steep rock once more. Once, twice, 5 times, 8 times, and even 10 times in a row, it slipped on the slippery stone and fell back to the dirt below. Every single time it fell, the burden seemed far too heavy, and the smooth rock surface seemed far too steep for such a tiny, fragile creature to climb. Zayn thought to himself that surely the little ant would give up now, as the task was clearly impossible and it was wasting its energy for nothing. But on the 11th attempt, the ant adjusted its grip, placed its legs with extreme care, and successfully reached the top of the stone with its precious prize. Zayn sat completely still, staring at the empty top of the stone in complete shock. A powerful, life-changing realization suddenly washed over his entire mind and heart. The ant did not possess magic, it did not have superior physical strength, and it certainly did not care about natural talent or what other ants thought about it. All it possessed was an unbreakable spirit and a total refusal to stop trying until it reached its goal. Persistence was its only secret to winning. Zayn realized that true success is not about never making mistakes or never falling down. Real failure only happens when you stop trying altogether and surrender to fear. A bright spark of determination ignited inside Zayn's heart. He stood up from the damp riverbank, brushed the dirt off his clothes, and walked home with firm purpose. He pulled the dark wooden box from under his bed, wiped the thick dust off his palette, and set up his wooden easel right by the sunlit window. From that exact day forward, Zayn created a strict daily routine for himself. He promised himself to practice drawing and painting for 2 full hours every evening. In the beginning, things were still difficult, frustrating, and slow. His lines were still slightly shaky, his shading was still dark, heavy, and uneven. However, Zayn changed his mindset completely. Instead of getting angry or sad when he made a mistake, he began viewing every single error as a valuable teacher. If a color looked too dark on canvas, he studied why it happened. If a line was crooked, he repeated the motion 50 times until his fingers learned the stroke. He stopped comparing his work to other talented artists in the town. He focused solely on being slightly better today than he was yesterday. Weeks turned into months, and months turned into a full year. Zayn filled dozens of heavy sketchbooks with thousands of practice sketches and color studies. Gradually, a miraculous change took place in his hands, mind, and vision. His hands stopped shaking, his lines became smooth and confident, and his colors became vibrant. A year later, the town of Greenvale announced its grand annual art competition. Artists from many surrounding villages came to participate for a prestigious trophy. Zayn decided to enter the contest. Instead of painting a grand palace or a rich nobleman, he painted the clear stream, the gray stones, and the ant climbing the rock. He titled his masterpiece, The Power of Persistence. On the exhibition day, judges walked past hundreds of impressive displays in the crowded, noisy hall. When they reached Zayn's painting, they stopped abruptly. They stood in complete silence for several minutes, staring at the extraordinary detail, lighting, and deep emotion. When the final results were announced, Zayn was declared the first prize winner. The crowd broke into loud, enthusiastic applause as he walked up to receive his gold medal. The old art teacher walked up to Zayn with genuine respect in his eyes and admitted that he was wrong. He stated that hard work and dedication can defeat any lack of talent. Zayn smiled softly, knowing that the real reward was not just the shiny gold medal, but every silent hour he spent practicing in his room when no one was watching.